Hello everyone, Mrs Easterbrook here to talk you through the French GCSE that we have here at St Dunstan's. We use AQA as our exam provider, so if at any point during the GCSE you wish to purchase revision materials, etc., make sure that you're picking them from the AQA category, okay? So initially, congratulations, a GCSE in French is a great thing to have. Purely by choosing your core subjects, history and geography and French, you have access to an extra qualification in comparison to other students. By simply picking those subjects and having those subjects as your choices will mean that at the end of it, without any extra exams, without any coursework or anything like that, you'll get access to an extra qualification, which is the English Baccalaureate. This is something that's really, really good to put on CVs, particularly for college, university, or even jobs. It shows that you're a different calibre of students because you've picked that choice of subjects, okay? So knowing a second language means you're in the top 32% of young people who can speak a language. And remember that 94% of the world does not speak English as a first language, and over 80% don't speak English at all. So it's one of those things that it's not everybody that speaks English. It's great to branch out and learn a language. Okay, so languages are perfect for jobs in tourism, so for tour operators, in ICT, designing apps, designing web pages, etc. For media, for example, being a Netflix subtitler, it's one of the jobs that I wanted to do when I left university, to get to watch TV all the time and write those subtitles. For sport, you could be a reporter, commentating in a different language. In education, you could be a teacher. Global businesses like translators and working with sister companies that are in different countries. Marketing, you could be a social media content creator as well as being in different languages. Law, interpreters, there's a multitude of different things that jobs that languages can get you into. It's a great thing to have as an option choice. Okay, so your lessons at Key Stage 4 will be very similar to the lessons in Key Stage 3. You'll have 2 or 3 hours a week, so it's 5 lessons over a fortnight, and you will cover speaking, listening, reading and writing activities, same as we do now. Translations, again, both into and out of French. Vocab work and homework. Grammar exercises, making sure you definitely know those tenses. Games, and also exam skills to make sure that you're prepared, ready for that GCSE. Okay, so over the 2 years for the GCSE, you'll learn about 3 themes, okay? And those themes are people and lifestyle, popular culture, and communication and the world around us, okay? And within that, there are these subtopics. Within those themes, there are subtopics that you will learn as well. So inside theme 1, you'll learn about identity and relationships with others, healthy lifestyle and education and work. Inside the theme of popular culture, you'll talk about free time activities, customs, festivals and celebrations, as well as celebrity culture. And in theme 3, you will learn about travel and tourism and places of interest, a bit about media and technology, and the environment in which people live. So all of those things will be covered within the GCSE, the vocab content that we will be going through. Okay. Now, the exam structure, there is a foundation and a higher paper. So for foundation, you can get between grades 1 and 5, or higher, you can get between grades 4 and 9. And unfortunately, there's no mixing and matching. If you're entered for foundation for speaking and writing, it has to be for all of them. So we have to be completely certain which tier we enter you in for. Lots of practice that happens throughout year 10 and 11 to make sure that we've made that correct decision. And we do that in conjunction with both you and your parents to make sure that we're getting that right tier for you. All exams are at the end of year 11, and there are 4 exam papers. So paper 1 is listening, and it is worth 25% of GCSE. Paper 2 is speaking, again worth 25% of the GCSE. Paper 3 is reading, worth 25% of the GCSE, and paper 4 is writing, worth again 25%. So 4 papers, 25% each. The speaking paper is usually done during April, and then the rest of the exams are in the May-June exam season. So for the listening paper, Foundation, it's 35 minutes long. At higher, it's 45 minutes long. It's worth 40 marks in foundation and 50 marks in higher. And there are 2 sections, namely listening comprehension. So you listen to the CD and you answer some questions in English. And then afterwards, there is what's called a dictation, which we'll be doing practice on, where you'll literally listen to a sentence in French and you'll have to transcribe exactly what that person is saying and writing it down in French. Okay. So for paper 2, the speaking, you will be speaking for foundation for a maximum of 9 minutes. At higher, you'll be speaking for a maximum of 12 minutes. And there is 15 minutes preparation time where you are given your role play card, your photo, and all the bits and pieces that you will need to be examined in so that you can prepare those in advance of walking into the exam. Okay, so you've got a role play, which is between 1 and 1.5 minutes. You've got a reading aloud and short conversation section of text that you need to read, simply exactly what it says in French, and then a mini conversation about it, and then a photo card with a longer conversation that's based on those 3 themes that we've talked about. Okay, so in the role play, this is an example of a role play. So you would have to, number 1, say what sort of person you are, say one activity you do with your friends, say how often you see your friends, say one thing about your best friend, and then ask a question about their age. So that's an example of what a role play would kind of look like. Reading aloud, an example would be these sentences here. For example, mon acteur préféré est beau. Ses films d'action sont très célébrés. J'adore aussi regarder ses vidéos amusantes sur Internet. Il habite au Canada dans une grande maison. Sa copine est une chanteuse française. So you'd simply read those out, and the examiner's therefore marking you on your pronunciation and whether you know phonics about how to speak in French. And then there's a little conversation about the content of what those sentences are. So it will then say you'll be asked 4 questions in French that relate to the topic of celebrity culture. In order to score the best marks, you must answer as fully as you possibly can. During a photo card, you'll have 2 photos and you make as many notes as you can in that 15-minute preparation time. And then you'll have to speak about each photo. So some examples of photos would be one here. So you could mention that there are 2 people. There's a child and his dad. They're cooking. They're in a kitchen. Or this one here, that you've got a family that are outside and they're playing football. That kind of idea to describe those photographs. Okay, so when you finish that description of the photos, you'll then have a longer conversation, and I'll be given a theme of which one you need to do that conversation on. So that's that 3rd thing, communication in the world around us. So you'll have some bits about travel and tourism, technology or environment. There'll be prescribed questions that I'll need to ask you in that speaking exam. Okay, moving on to the reading paper, you've got foundation and higher, 45 minutes to an hour. And inside that reading paper, you've got to read and answer some questions in English, but there's also a small translation into English that's part of the reading paper. In the writing paper, you will have a number of questions to answer depending on whether you're foundation or higher. In foundation, you have to describe a photo, write a 50-word answer, some grammar tasks, a bit of translation into French, and a 90-word answer. In the higher paper, you have less questions to answer. You have translation, you have 90-word response, and 150-word response too. Okay, so this is an example of what you would need to answer within the photo. And this is an example of what you might have to write about within the 50-word response. The short grammar exercise is usually a fill the word in that is out of the choices and put that word into a sentence. It's on the foundation paper only. And then there's translation of some simple sentences into French, for example, like these. There is also the 90-word question. So again, you'll be given some bullet points of things that you need to write about and put into that 90-word question. And then higher, it's a similar thing. You'll be writing 150 words, but about certain bullet points that you need to write about. Okay, so that's a big whistle-top tour of what you've got as your examination for French GCSE. I will advise that French is quite a complex subject. It is indeed a foreign language after all, so it's not an easy one for everyone. But if you can learn passages and learn answers off by heart, if you can understand the past, present and future tenses, you're good at remembering vocab, and you're good at learning from mistakes and giving it a go, and trying hard and working hard, then you'll be absolutely fine for this GCSE. Okay, so if you've got any more questions about the AQA GCSE that we do here at St Dunstan's, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to answer anything that you may wish. Thank you very much.